So Wild Ninja here, and today we're taking a look at Ninjago Dragon's Rising set 718 free 9. Arin Spinjitzu Battle Mech. This goes for $22 and is compatible with last year's free elemental mechs, this being Sora's, Kai's, Cole's, and Lloyd's. Now, I will not show you how they can combine to the others besides the back of the box, but besides that, let's go on with today's video. So we're going to just quickly take a look at a couple of the figures that you can set. Yeah, Ryu, of course. Ryu's pretty sweet. Still Baby Ryu, of course, so nothing new there. We get a Dragonian Warrior, this time instead of in the smaller set of the wave, he gets bigger horns, like in the Oni mask. You get that new hilt piece from Monkey Kid in black, and you get that, like, teal blue, I guess it's teal. I don't really know. We looked at the Dragonian Warriors before in this spectral coloring. I've said my say. You got the Forbidden 5 logo. I'm not going to really go too much into detail about this guy because I've got another set that I'm going to do a really big video on and talk about him there. But I like the tail, ghost tail. I've never spoken about Dragon's Rising hasn't used the smoke tails besides Cinder. I haven't spoken about this. I think when they do new tail pieces in this color, they succeed. When they keep using the same ones, it doesn't work. You can tell the difference between, for example, Asterias and Nanakons. The oranges are different and the translucence is different, and it's more impactful. I think with this one, it definitely feels less translucent at the front, and at the back, it feels like it's spectral. It's spectral enough to actually show us what we think it looks like in the show and what it does actually look like in the show. Now taking a look at Arin's mech. So if you don't know, hence spoilers for Season 3 Part 2, this is Arin. Arin's pretty much just his suit from the start of the year, half mask in black, hair and normal face. Everything's pretty much the same about Arin. This is just like with Sora. I have to admit though, this isn't that bad. I can't complain. I'm not going to really worry about getting the armor piece in. I'll probably see later on. Actually, I'll get another Arin here, actually. I'll take the swords off. Let me see if this Arin fits to the mech with his armor. It's not a huge complaint if we don't get the armor. No. So, yeah. The armor piece isn't going to be able to fit in. You can just barely... Oh, no. It does fit. It does. But I can't complain. It's not a big set to obviously acquire the armor piece in the set. So quickly just going over it. The mech obviously can be taken off from the points and its arms. Let's take a look at the legs. The legs are pretty cool. Have these interesting pieces. Definitely have a lot of things that reminisce of Kai's mech and a bit of Lloyd's, which I found very interesting. Still having the tech power Sora makes. Now this is obviously to translate to Arin's suit, sorry. You can see the bit of oranges that Arin has, but this is also supposed to be Sora's tech as well, because these are the mechs she made. Something I do definitely like is a bit of these wing pieces on the side of the arms. I think that gives it some extra detail and all that sort of stuff. Arin has two swords, of course. These two swords being one that has some tech flames, obviously to relate to Sora. And then the other side, has like this axe, or this grappling, not grappling thing, I guess, it's more or less a, climber sort of thing. We got that weapon last year. I think it's the best way to use it. They used it on his car last year. That was horrible. But definitely like the mech a lot. Now, I'm going to say this more towards the end. This is probably one of the better mechs to ever come from the line. Let me show you how they're compatible by the back of the box. Shows you the compatibility from the last year sets. Obviously, Cole's is on the left, Kai's on the right, and Arin's is in the middle. Then on the bottom here, we do have the compatibility, of course, of how Cole's has Kai's arms and Arin's legs. Cole's body... Is that Cole's body? No, that's Arin's body. Has Cole's arms and Kai's legs. Then Kai's body has Arin's arms and Cole's legs. Admittedly, my favorite mechs are, of course, I think Kai's, but I don't want to compare Kai's to all these mechs. These are $22 mechs. I would have to say Cole's is my favorite, just aesthetic-wise, just by the looks. I think then Arin's, then Lloyd's. and then I think I just could have Sora bottom. I think Sora set's boring as hell, and for the Arin Spectral Warrior you get, and then an additional Ryu for $22. That's probably the cheapest way to get him, and I think that's the best way to actually make and do a set. So yeah, let's take a look at the spare parts you get in the set. Think about this set. I think this is absolutely cool. I think the worst one had to be Sora's from last year, but out of the 4, this is definitely up there with at least I think Kai's, but I think Kai's has more, like for $35, $45 Australian. Kai's had obviously more to do with the build and everything else, and made everything feel compact. So I can't really compare it to that. If I was comparing it to Lloyd's, Sora's, and Cole's, I would say this would take spot in between, definitely. If the greater ones were Lloyd, Cole, and Cole's out of the 3 from last year with Sora's, this would be, I think, in between Lloyd and Cole's. I think Cole's is good for its element. Lloyd's is interesting, has an interesting build. This takes both. But I do think Cole's is a lot more interesting on how it got built and its persona. Well, Arin's is really cool. If you've seen the show, you know. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments about this. Thank you guys for watching. Final shot. Peace out, guys.